NFTs are an insanely hot trend within the blockchain space. It's like new NFTs are hitting the market all the time, and many of these projects explode in price. So in this video, I'm actually going to show you how you can use coding skills as a developer to give yourself a massive edge in this space so that you can create an NFT bot that actually buys these projects before they blow up. Because a lot of these projects basically work the same way. They have a minting event where you can go in and mint NFTs. And so in this video, I'm going to try to create an NFT minting bot to let you buy these NFTs really fast before everybody else. So this video is actually a free sample from Blockchain Mastery University. So if you want an inside look to see what it's like to learn about the hottest blockchain topics on a weekly basis like NFTs, DeFi, flash loans, trading bots, then that's what you're getting in this video. Is a direct look inside the Dapp University community. So if that's something that you're interested in, then definitely watch this entire video, subscribe to the channel, smash that like button down below, and sign up today over at dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. There should be a link down in the video description below. And so last but not least, if you are new around here, hey, I'm Gregory, and on this channel, I turn you into a blockchain master. So with all that being said, let's jump in and start programming. All right, so let's take a look at what we're going to build in this video. So we're going to create an NFT bot or a script that essentially lets you buy NFTs without having to use a website. And the big advantage of this is that you can typically, buy or create NFTs before other people do. All right, so let me explain what I mean by that. All right, so one really common thing whenever new NFTs are released is that they have some sort of minting event, okay, or an NFT drop, where essentially they say, hey, we're going to release an NFT, we're going to allow 10,000 of them or something like that to be created, and show up at this date and time to our website, and we'll let you mint NFTs on our website. Maybe there's a small fee associated with that. Sometimes you can just get them for free as long as you show up at the right time, okay? And then those NFTs are then turned around and sold on secondary marketplaces. Maybe they're held in wallets, or you could buy them on something like OpenSea. So basically, if you want to get into NFTs, that's, the two main ways to do it. Either show up to a minting event and buy them on their website directly, or you buy it on a secondary market like OpenSea after all that's said and done. Now, if you're a developer, you have a massive advantage because there's a third way that you can buy NFTs, which is by interacting with the smart contracts directly themselves with a bot, okay? So, of course, a savvy user could go to a website like Etherscan, for example, and find the smart contract for the NFT itself, and just go to the interface and, use the minting function, manually on the website by bypassing, either the minting website or OpenSea or something like that, okay? But you can still take this to the next level and actually create your own bots or script that interact with the, contracts directly themselves. And you can do things like mint NFTs much faster or at scale in a way that people who use the website or, trade on something like OpenSea can't. And so that's what I'm going to show you to do in this video is actually to create an NFT bot or a script that lets you mint NFTs directly to your wallet without having to use, a website or a marketplace. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So head on over to GitHub with this link. I'll put it down in the description below. By the time you watch this video, this repo should be public. So you should be able to download the code. You can either clone it with Git or click this download button here. I'll walk you through all those steps in a second. But I just want to show you that we've got this README here that shows you everything that you need. So you've got the technology stack and tools listed. So Solidity, that's the language we'll write the smart contracts in. JavaScript for basically testing the application, running the scripts, Web3 for interacting with the blockchain, Truffle for developing the smart contracts and, just the entire project. And then Ganache is what we'll use for our local development blockchain, okay? So some of these dependencies we're going to get just by installing them from the project itself. But you need to make sure you have your system configured, okay? So you definitely need Node.js installed. All right, you need Truffle installed and Ganache. So if you're inside the Blockchain Mastery program, then there should definitely be, dedicated videos on how to install each of these things. I'm not going to go through those manually here. But if you're, if you want to, basically, it's pretty easy to install Node, Truffle, and Ganache. You need Node.js already installed first. You can go to your terminal and see if you have Node installed. You can type node-v, and that'll show your current version, okay? And then also, just make sure you have Truffle installed, which is going to be the development framework we use for the smart contracts, and then also Ganache, which we use for the development blockchain. So you can go ahead and download the code like this. You can go to your terminal and to git clone, and then paste in the URL here. All right, so I've already done this step. It's going to tell me it won't do it. But if you haven't, then you should see is that successful. And we're going to enter into that newly created directory like this, say cd nft batch minting. Oh, sorry. All right, the next thing you want to do is make sure you have your dependencies installed with Node.js. Okay, so we're going to do npm install. All right, this will take all of the dependencies that are inside the project and make sure that they are on your system so that you can successfully run these scripts. Okay, so I've already done this step. I'm going to skip it. Okay, but just make sure you hit enter here and install all the dependencies on your system. You might see some warnings at the end. It's okay, they're just warnings. As long as you see a success message, then your dependencies are good to go. All right, so go ahead and open up your project in your text editor. I'm using Sublime Text. That's just my personal preference. You can use whatever text editor you'd like. And let's see what we've got inside of here, okay? So a quick tour of the project is we have our package.json file, which stores all of our dependencies for the project inside of here. Okay, we have our truffle-config file, which essentially configures our project to connect to a blockchain, okay? And we also have our Solidity compiler configuration inside of here. And then you'll see that we have some scripts that we're going to use for minting, which we'll see that here in a minute. All right. And then we have the contract for NFT, some migrations, and some metadata here. Okay. So let me explain how this tutorial is going to go. So we're not going to code out everything step by step in this video. This is designed to show you sort of like to steal this project and to show you how you can adapt it to create a bot. Okay. So what we've done is we've already pre-created an NFT contract inside of here. Okay. So an NFT, a non-fungible token, is governed by a smart contract, and many NFTs are a solved problem. Like if you look at a lot of different NFT projects, they work about the same. It's just kind of rinse and repeat strategy. I mean, some have really unique characteristics, but generally speaking, they all work about the same. And in the very least, they're almost all of them, with a few exceptions, are based off the ERC-721 standard, which is really just a standard interface so that we don't have to reinvent the wheel every time we create an NFT. So you can see that we have some libraries pulled in here. And so we're going to take this scenario that we've already set up and run it and show you how to, create this bot and show you how to customize it and explain each part of the code in depth. But if you want the step-by-step instructions on how to, write this code from scratch, then that's exactly what the Blockchain Bootcamp is for. There'll be a link for that down in the description below. That's the step-by-step program on how to code for blockchain, no matter where you're starting from. Okay. So, all right. Let's look at this. So this is an NFT contract, and inside of here, basically we have this mint function. Okay, this is what we're going to use to actually mint the NFTs. We have, lots of other standard functions like to check the wallet balance. Look at the token URI, set the minting cost, and set the base URI. Okay, withdraw funds if you have, if you own the project. Okay. So I want to focus on actually setting up the NFT though, because it has multiple components to it, and I want to explain each of the constituent parts. So essentially, NFT is a smart contract that lives on a blockchain. So let me just pull that up here and you'll see it. So basically we have, the NFT contract. It's going to go on the blockchain. Right? That's what we just saw here a second ago. That's the Solidity smart contract. All right, we're going to boot up a blockchain here in a minute and then deploy it. But all the images for the NFT, they live on something called IPFS. Okay, so it's not going to work to put images on a blockchain. So essentially what happens is, you have a unique ID for each NFT, and then that NFT, individual NFT has some metadata, which contains an image URL, and both this metadata for the NFT, like the name, the image URL, etc., and also the image lives on IPFS, which is a distributed file system. It works kind of like a blockchain. It's not really. It has redundancy and immutability like a blockchain does, but it works a little bit different. Okay, so we're going to store the NFT images on the IPFS. Like that, okay? And then we'll have, the ability to, create a bot that works with this mint function that we saw on the smart contract a second ago. So, again, to make things kind of fast, we have created a scenario for you to get rolling, which we've essentially created some images already and some metadata for the NFTs. So if you go to this images section here in this metadata, you can see an example of what NFT metadata looks like. So for NFT number 1, right, we've got, some metadata here that has the name American Gothic. This is an example of some JSON that's going to go on IPFS. All right. And you can see the description, famous paintings. And you can see, this image here. Okay. We've got all these different famous art paintings here that we're going to mint as NFTs. So we'll have 20 NFTs in this scenario. You could adapt this however you want to. If you want to make it 10,000 NFTs, if you want to turn this into some crazy generative art NFT project like we did in the NFT masterclass, you could definitely do that. This is just a simple example to show you how this works. Okay. So you can see, if you look at any of these pieces of metadata here, that these already exist on IPFS. And so if I copy and paste that IPFS URL and put it in my browser here, you can see that, this image is already on IPFS. So we have set this up for you. We have taken these 20 images and put them on IPFS, okay? And we've generated the metadata for you. All right. So if you want to create this project from scratch, you would need to do this preliminary step, deploy the images to IPFS, copy and paste the base URL inside of here, and then generate all that. But we've done it for you. Okay. But you can see a comprehensive instruction on how to do that inside the NFT masterclass. We've got the images. All right. Go back to our diagram here. We've got the images on IPFS. So check. Now we want to take this NFT and then put it on the blockchain. So in order to do that, we need to make sure we have a development blockchain running. That's what Ganache is for. So make sure you have Ganache open. And then I'm just going to do quick start. Okay. And now once you've got this running, you've got a blockchain running, and you can see that you've got, 10 accounts here, all with 100 fake ether inside of them. Don't get too excited. This ether isn't actually worth any real money. Okay. And so now what we can do is actually take our smart contracts, particularly this NFT right here, and put it on the blockchain. So we've got this migration script here. If you go to migration, deploy contracts, this is the code that takes your NFT contract from memory, from the artifacts, and deploys it. So we use this await, deploy, or deploy. We paste in the NFT contract. We call this, famous paintings. It's just the name of the NFT. The symbol is paint. You can see that inside the NFT constructor here. So the constructor is the function that gets run whenever the NFT is deployed to the blockchain. It takes a name, a symbol. We're just going to call it famous paintings. And then we use that symbol of, paint. And then we essentially, give it the base URI for IPFS, which is this right here. Okay. So, and then we have all the images already on IPFS. So let's just mint it. Let's go ahead and deploy it. We do like this. We do truffle, migrate, -- reset. Okay. And there we go. Okay. The NFT is on the blockchain now, our development blockchain. So now let's look at how to, actually do the minting. Okay. So that's the whole point of this tutorial, is to show you that, you can create a bot that can talk to the smart contract directly. It's called this mint function, instead of having to do it directly from a website or how to buy it on, a marketplace. So that's the next part. Let's go back and look at the smart contract, see how this is done. So again, there's two ways to do this. You can call this mint function. This is the function that gets called, when you're at a minting event. Okay. And if you look at any of the smart contracts, like we could look at the Bored Ape Yacht Club, and if you look at the contracts in Etherscan, they have, like a mint ape function. Okay. Now this is not called mint directly. It's slightly different, and it's really common for contracts to change the name of this. So if you're creating a bot, you want to know like what their function is going to be called. You can't always just use the mint function over and over again. You have to actually see what it is. And, but you can typically see this on Etherscan when you look at their verify page. And so it takes two arguments, basically the payable amount of ether and the number of tokens that you want to mint. So ours is somewhat similar. Okay. But in this case, it's just a mint function with no argument. So you would adapt this depending on whatever their interface looks like. So in some cases, it costs money to mint NFTs, and sometimes it's just free. Okay, if it costs money, then you want to make sure that the function is payable and that you're sending in ether whenever you do that. Okay, we can specify a cost here because it is payable, right? And we can just transfer the value. So you want to know what that is, and then also the number of tokens. But ours by default just mints 1 token per function call in this case. All right. So it's important to understand, like I was saying a second ago, that you can do this directly through the website when they have some sort of minting interface. You can do it through Etherscan. Sorry, really bad handwriting there. You can do Etherscan, but you can also create a bot, and that's exactly what we're going to look at right now. So instead of creating like a full-on, like, you know, high-octane, high-performance bot, we're going to simplify this for example purposes and create a script, okay? So this script could be adapted to create a more robust bot. Like you could run this script on repeat. You can modify this script to do batch minting like at scale. You could create some sort of Node.js bot that watches the blockchain. You could do a lot of different stuff with this, but just to start off with, we're going to use this script to make things simple, okay? So Truffle lets you create scripts inside of it, which are just files that, you know, execute instructions to the blockchain or to your project, I should say. And what they do is, you know, we pull in the smart contract and we connect to the blockchain like this. All right, we connect to the smart contract, and then we can just interact with the smart contract directly with code with Web3.js and actually call that mint function, which is exactly what we do right here. All right, so before I explain all this code, let's just run it and see what happens, okay? So we're going to go to our terminal here. We're going to Truffle exec. So this is how you run scripts in Truffle. You do Truffle space exec space. That's short for execute. Those scripts, because that's where the folder is. So scripts /mint.js, okay? And you can watch this happen in real time. All right, so I've got this error here, and that's because I actually ran this as a Truffle script, like I was saying a second ago, but really this is a script that's intended to be run directly with Node.js, okay? So there's different ways to do scripts inside your projects. You could do Truffle exec, like I was saying here a second ago, but if you do that, you have to follow the Truffle script conventions, which this doesn't. So you can just run the script with Node.js like this. So go do Node, which is what you do to execute a Node script, and you do scripts, just like I was saying a second ago, mint.js, and then here you go. Awesome, there you go. So basically, you can see some logged output here. So the base cost of minting is 1, total cost of minting is 5. Here's the gas fee. It's attempting to mint 5 NFTs. All right, total NFTs minted was 5. So if you want to go to an NFT drop mint at 5 NFTs, that's how it works. And so now let's actually step into our project and see how this script works, okay? So essentially, if you go back to our diagram and see, you know, how we connect to the smart contracts here, there's multiple ways. So, you know, website can connect to it right here. We've got, you know, Etherscan can connect to it through the interface, or you can create a bot that connects to it. And we have a simplified script that you can turn into a bot, which I'll talk about that here in a minute. But they all do the same thing. They essentially all talking to this mint function or some variant of this mint function directly, which is the interface for this NFT. Now, if you're trading on a market like OpenSea, there's the transfer from functions, typically how that works. I just put trade here to simplify it, but let's go revisit the smart contract. So inside of here, again, we have this mint function, which we saw a minute ago, which essentially just increases the value of the total supply, and then, you know, assigns a new NFT to the person who's calling the smart contract. In this case, is message sender, which is msg.sender. Solidity has a global variable called message, and then the value sender is just the address of the person who generated the transaction for this function call. Okay, and you know, yeah, that's how it works. So we call that inside the script here. So basically, we connect to Web3 to the blockchain like this. We import the smart contract like this. We create a JavaScript version of the smart contract Web3. We need the smart contract ABI, which is just a JSON description of the smart contract. That's what we pull in here. And then we get the address of the contract deployed to the network. That's what we get here. Okay. And then here's a setting. So if you wanted to take this and you know, try to actually go to a minting event, you could specify how many NFTs you want to mint. So in this case, we're trying to mint 5. You could change this to 10. You could change this to 1 if you want to do it for testing purposes. All right, if you want to change your gas cost for minting or your gas limit on how much you want to pay in gas to mint the NFTs, you can change that setting here, which you might need to change this depending on, you know, yeah, basically, depending on how much it costs to mint the NFT, network conditions, all that type of stuff. So let's look at the main part of the function. So we have this function called main. All right. So this is how we create the function that's going to get called. All right. And then we actually call the function here. That's what it is. So, when we do this, this code isn't actually getting run. It's not getting run until we call this, right? But let's look what's inside the function. So first of all, it just gets your account. Okay. So this is the account inside of Ganache right here. All right. So by default, Ganache essentially unlocks all the accounts connected to the blockchain. So when you run your truffle project, you can act on behalf of this first account just by default without any configuration. And you can read that account like this. So you just do account, Web3 get accounts, returns an array, and then you can destructure that array to get the first item out of it. And then we specify the base cost, okay, for the NFT. All right. So this is stored in the smart contract itself. We can get that back. And we can calculate the total cost by multiplying the base cost by the amount to mint. So if it costs, 1 ETH to mint an NFT, you just multiply that by 5, and that's the total cost for minting 5 NFTs. All right. So then we console log that. You can see that here. So base cost of minting is 1 ETH. We're just doing that for example purposes. Most NFTs aren't that expensive to mint, but the total cost of minting is now going to be 5 ETH. Here's the gas fee, and then we're going to try to mint 5 NFTs. All right. And you'll see that logged out at the console here. And so what we do is we do NFT contract methods mint. That's the function that gets called. And then with Web3.js, you have to actually do send whenever you create a transaction. And then we tell the account that's coming from. That's the account that we read here. The total cost, which we calculated here. And then the gas, which we specified here in the settings. Okay. And so we want to specify how many times we call this function because, we want to parameterize this so that you can adjust the settings to mint more NFTs if you want to. So if you do this 10 times, we want the mint function to be called 10 times. And that's what we use a for loop for. So a loop in programming is basically a way to do something over and over again based upon a certain set of conditions. So we're going to call the mint function over and over again until we reach the number 5. That's what this is. So for loop, basically we're setting up a variable here. I is 0, so we're running at 0 until I is less, and this number is less than or equal to, is less than 5. So we're going to do this, and then after each loop runs, increment that value. So once we do this 5 times, it'll stop. Okay. And then we increment this total minted, all right, amount. We read that from the smart contract, and we log that to the console. And then basically we console log the IPFS URLs of the successfully minted NFTs. All right. So that's what you can see here. You can see it specified in the script here. We can run it again. And you can see that we've minted total NFTs 10. So we've minted 5 more NFTs. Now we've minted 10. And you can see the URLs for all the NFTs that we successfully minted, all right? And now these should show up in your wallet if you add them, okay? So, that's an overview of how this works, okay? Now, this, again, is just a simple script. And if you want to turn it into a bot, how would you do that? So there's a couple different ways. And one of the nice things is this is just a Node.js script, okay? So you could basically, a couple ways. You could run this in a process on your computer, all right, where essentially you take this command line, you could basically have this, command line, command here. So, node index or node, scripts, mint.js, and you could do some bash scripting, maybe, on some sort of interval based on a set of conditions, to essentially fire off this script at a specific time or based on a certain set of conditions. So it would take some additional scripting around this script, but you have the core ability to do it right here. And you could modify anything inside the script that you wanted to, okay? And you could actually deploy that to a remote server. If you wanted to spin up a, Amazon EC2 instance, or do some sort of, something on Google Cloud, something like that, where you basically, spin up a Linux box that lets you run this inside of it. You could do it remotely, run on some sort of schedule. You could also, adapt this and run it inside of a Node.js application. This is a lot how we did the trading bots inside the trading bot masterclass, where you basically, put this inside of Express.js, so I'm going to say, not Node.js, Express.js web server, so it can easily be deployed to some sort of out-of-the-box web hosting solution like Heroku, for example, that just supports, Express.js applications and maybe runs this based on a certain set of conditions or on some sort of interval or at some specific point in time. Okay, so there's lots of ways you can turn this into a bot. Or if you're manually at your computer, you could just sit here and try to run these, scripts manually from your command line, ultimately with the tools that I've given you here today at some sort of minting event. All right, so that's an overview of how you can create a minting bot for NFTs, okay? So again, there's lots of ways you can change this and adapt it for your own purposes, but definitely check out this code to get started today. And if you want to build something step by step, all right, actually learn the coding skills you need to create this, then that's definitely what you want to check out the blockchain bootcamp for. Okay, that's the step-by-step program on how to code for blockchain from step-by-step, start to finish, no matter where you're starting from, whether you're a beginner or, whether you're already a programmer, it doesn't matter. So I hope you like this video. Make sure you smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. And if you got a lot more out of this video and you want to learn more, then definitely sign up with the link down below for dappuniversity.com/bootcamp so you can learn how to master blockchain step by step, start to finish. All right, that's all I've got. And until next time, thanks for watching Dapp University.